What's up, Mavs Nation? How we feeling? It's been tough. It's been a tough year. I know. I thought we'd make a little video here. Let's recap. Let's go back over. Let's reflect. Let's have a time of reflection. Um, see what we did wrong. Some things we did right, myself included. Obviously, it was a tough year. Very tough year. Disappointing. Luka showed out as always. Luka Magic was Luka Magic. Always got to be happy about that. Uh, Season obviously didn't go as we wanted. Completely missed the playoffs. The play-in, just completely unacceptable, to be honest with you. Excuse me. Um, yeah, very disappointing. Very disappointing. I hate Jason Kidd. Let's get that out of the way. I hate Jason Kidd as a coach. Let me be clear. I've been knocking on him. I mean, to be honest with you, since last year, even though we made that run to the Western Conference Finals, there wasn't really anything I saw from the coaching or changes. I did a video on some Basketball Mind or something. He's a really popular channel. He kind of breaks down film and stuff, and he thought that Jason Kidd did some kind of genius move on the defensive end that helped Dallas win that series against Phoenix. It was just a sagging man-to-man. That's all it was. It was a sagging, very help-oriented defense man-to-man. Make the pick and roll, hesitate for a second, chase him out, don't let him go straight off the pick to the hole. That was about it. It was nothing crazy or special, right? I mean, we're talking about high school adjustments, junior high adjustments, if we're going to be honest. So I just want to get my hatred of Jason Kidd's coaching out of the way. I see no creativity, nothing new, no urgency, no, trying to get guys in spots. I mean, I understand you have Luka, right? But one man can never win it all for the most part, except for 2011 Dirk. Shout out 2011 Dirk. Put the team on his back, was a buzzsaw. We all know it. Greatest playoff run of all time. No questions asked. Everyone agrees. But Luka cannot win it all on himself and all by himself. And Kidd just no adjustments offensively. It's just pick and roll to death. And if he wants to get spicy, he'll do a double pick and roll. I've made this point before. I think Jason Kidd is suffering from the Magic Johnson syndrome not the HIV, but in terms of when Magic Johnson, I think, tried to be a coach there for a while. Guys who are physically gifted like that and just play with kind of such a flow, much like Jason Kidd did. God damn, getting tired. It's late. Anyways, I just think they sometimes have a hard time with the X's and O's, right? Of trying to get five guys working in unison in such a way to create easy opportunities and good looks. This is why I've always liked Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle was not the most gifted guy, but he had to be smart. He had to be at the right place at the right time. He had to anticipate. He had to be there 2 steps ahead. He had to know what was coming, etc. Right? And that's why I think Rick Carlisle's probably one of the best X's and O's coach in the game right now. I think Indiana overachieved a little bit this year. They had some spots there where they looked really good. I think he knows how to manufacture offense and get guys in good spots. And I'll stand by that to the day I die. And, Jason Kidd, I'm seeing no creativity, no, like I said, urgency, not trying anything new. He's just hoping Luka will put everyone on his back and make him look good. And, perhaps we overachieved a little bit the previous year, getting to the Western Conference Finals. We hit our shots. That always helps. And perhaps we underachieved this year. So I think Jason Kidd's on the chopping block. I hope he's on the chopping block. He needs to get a fire under his ass and try something new, even if it's out of some desperation. I think that's more than okay. I'd rather see that than just settling for the same old that I've seen the last 2 years. Again, I'm not a fan of Jason Kidd. I feel like I've been right about him so far. Um, he definitely made me eat my words a little bit the previous year. Again, I think that was a little bit of lightning in a bottle. I hate to say that. I think we definitely overshot a little bit, overachieved a little bit. I think that what we did is what we are capable of, so I'm not going to call it a fluke or that we dramatically overachieved. But I definitely think, we got hot at the right time. Luka played his ass off. Guys were hitting shots. I think our defense was much better last year. And so, that's what that was. And I think this year, unfortunately, it's just hard to explain, right? We get the Kyrie trade. Can't stop yawning. I'm going to get through this video. I was right about the Kyrie trade. I still think that was the right move. I hated kind of giving up Finney-Smith and Dinwiddie. I thought perhaps only one of them. We should have given up only one of them. And, of course, I'd give anything to move Bertans. Jesus Christ. Bertans' contract drives me absolutely crazy. If I'm not mistaken, though, I think if he plays less than 75% of the games this year, there's a team option to cut him for a pretty good discount, which I think will probably happen, and make some decent trade bait too if people want to get something off the books next year. Now, I think it was hard to trade him last year because he has 2 years left. Now he's just got the 1 year. Don't play him more than 75% of the games, and essentially you can cut him for cheap, real cheap, compared to what he's getting paid. So I was right about the Kyrie trade. I still think it was the right thing to do because contract-wise, roster-wise, I just think the Mavs were in a tight spot, a tough spot. We were a good team, but not a contender. So I think bringing someone like Kyrie in is still a step in the right direction to being a contender compared to where we were. And if we don't re-sign him, again, I said this in the video, okay, he's gone. We just cleared up cap space. Let's go make some moves. Now let's see what we can do. We at least now have some flexibility. There's kind of some pros and cons with tying up so much money into one player like that. In that, when you have him, you're committed fully to him. But now that he's a free agent, or he's technically not on the books right now, the Mavs were in a tight spot. Now we have a little bit of room here. The 10th pick. Maybe we can pull something off with that. I am of the impression, or my personal opinion, I would rather trade the 10th pick and, an asset or two to go get another player. This is the thing, for those who are Mavs fans, we watched Dirk here for so long. Having a guy like Luka or Dirk, you are in win now mode 24/7. You have to be. Go over the luxury tax. Do what you need to do. Trade your picks. Get rid of them. Unless you get some kind of crazy top 5 pick and you really think there's a guy who's going to come in, immediately make a splash and contribute, which most of the time those guys are not hanging around at the 10th spot. Trade it. I would say trade it. Trade your future picks. You're obviously rolling the dice. You're gambling, but we're talking about a generational talent and opportunity here. I think you do what you can to put as many pieces around him. And I think that's just the game you have to play when you have someone like a Dirk or a Luka, right? And they prove they can be a franchise player. You got to roll the dice. You got to take that shot. I think it's better to take your shot than to... I think one thing the Mavs do is they kind of keep playing it safe, hoping something better will come along or that more value will come along at some point. Guys are getting overpaid these days. Well, just in general, right? Whatever the hot new thing is, he's going to get overpaid. To just hope you can kind of sit around and wait and get the guy that you want. There's 10 other teams looking at that guy you want too, and they're probably in a better cap situation than we are. You have to do whatever you can, I think, to win now. And again, I think Kyrie was still a step in the right direction. Again, worst case scenario, we don't re-sign him or we sign and trade him, and we're able to have some flexibility here to maybe at least go down another avenue or have another outlet to do something. And even if we sign him, right? I mean, Luka and Kyrie, I mean, it's kind of hard to complain and say we want better. Now, my only thing after kind of watching them play together, and I'm sorry I didn't keep doing the live streams of the games. I mentioned it before. I kind of got a new job, been going to the gym. It's just been real hard lately. I'm kind of committed to those things. I think they're important. Obviously, my job pays my bills, right? So, um, but you know, Luka and Kyrie, ball demand wise, are very similar, right? I made the same thing about Brunson and Luka. Um, I'm still not entirely upset to see Brunson go because him and Luka really are stylistically very similar. They need the ball. They need to work with the ball. They like to kind of poke and prod and bump their way into the lane. They take a lot of dribbles. And unless you're going to throw Luka out starting and then you're going to bring someone off the bench or have someone truly play a second fiddle to Luka who kind of does the same things just to take pressure off of him, Brunson and Luka, I'm not sure how great of a fit they were. And remember, Brunson went off in the playoffs and made his name when Luka got hurt. Luka was hurt there for a little bit. Brunson could be the guy, and that's when he went off. And it makes sense, right? I mean, you're essentially plugging in a guy who plays a lot like Luka. Luka's just bigger, faster, stronger, essentially. Is just a bigger body, right? It can see over defenses. Probably better passing skills, obviously, but in terms of their offensive production and game and how they kind of like to poke and prod into the lane, very much similar. Now, Kyrie and Luka are a little different stylistically, but again, they both need the ball in their hands to make plays. And what I've come to realize watching Luka and Kyrie together is we need a big man. We need a big man rolling to the basket. We need someone to take pressure off of Kyrie and Luka when they are in the lane, when they are even on the perimeter. We need someone commanding some kind of presence in the lane, in the middle, rolling to the basket. Obviously, rebounds we still suck at. We're I think the worst in the league at rebounding this year, or at least one of the worst. Definitely bottom 3 or 4, depending on how you kind of want to break down the rebounding statistics. But we definitely need a big man. That's my thing right now. That's why I thought McGee, I thought Mavs did their homework. They went out and got McGee. They're going to use him correctly. They're going to put him in spots to get some easy buckets. He's going to get boards, a couple blocks, protect the rim. Just be a big man, and he's agile enough. He's got decent coordination and whatnot. I really thought McGee would play a bigger role than he did. I was wrong about that. And whether or not we trade McGee or maybe McGee steps it up next year, and it can't get much worse, I suppose. I'd like to see kids stick with McGee a little more. I still feel like McGee maybe didn't get, sometimes you got to let them play through it a little bit. I would have liked to maybe see McGee get that opportunity a little more, but it is what it is. Season's over, so. But we need a big man, and I know Ayton's been tossed around a lot. I am willing to roll the dice on Ayton. I think Ayton would pair well with Luka. I think Ayton could get, again, he's much more offensively got a better game than McGee, a better offensive skill set. Defensively, I guess they're about the same. There's probably not much of a difference. Maybe McGee's a little bit of a better shot blocker. He's probably maybe a little more like athletic and explosive than Ayton, but McGee's getting older. So I would like us to go get Ayton or a Miles Turner. We need a big man, even though Turner's not necessarily a true big man. But we need a big man, I think, rolling to the basket with Kyrie and Luka. I think that's really what we need on offense right now. And that's just kind of where I'm at with that in free agency. Trading our picks, trying to make some moves. We're in win-now mode. If I had to bet, I'm going to bet that Kyrie comes back. I just think the front office is going to do what they can to keep him. he is that good. Give him and Luka another year to play together. And you would just think two guys of that caliber and that talent would figure it out. Something. My only thing is I think they just it's hard for those two to play off each other. This is going to be Luka's biggest problem going forward, and I've talked about this before, is that he just commands the ball so much to do what he does that you have to have Kid has got to find a way to better utilize him, to take pressure off of him, to get his teammates in the correct spots to make defenses pay when Luka draws defenders in. That's going to be Luka's big issue. I think there's two things. Well, there's three things with Luka. One is that the way he plays, and thing about Dirk, right? Dirk would go get in his spot, and then you could give the ball to him, and he could either get a shot off quickly, he could score all three levels, he could shoot over you anytime he wanted. Luka is bringing the ball up the floor, needs to get to his spot, we're trying to get. It's just so much work for Luka to kind of get his game going. That I think is honestly one of his biggest problems. I would like to see Luka off the ball more and get set up, not spend so much energy bringing the ball up. And secondly, to kind of go with that is he needs to get in shape, right? That kind of goes together, those two. I know there was the video of him running up the stairs. I'm not impressed. I'm not going to believe it until I see it. Last year, there was the same photo of him overseas, and he looked ripped. He looked lean. I need to see that into the playoffs, full season. That's what I need to see. And until I do, I'm not going to believe it until I see it. So Luka having to work so much to get his offense going, again, that wears on him throughout a game, throughout a season. I need to see him in shape. And the other thing is, I think Luka needs to get better at one of his big issues is Luka has hot starts. He'll drop 15 on you in the first quarter. He'll drop 25 on you in the first half. And Charles Barkley once said this about Dirk, and it's very true, and I never thought about it like this until he said it. But, 30 points is not 30 points. If you score 30 points in the first three quarters and it's a close game, halfway into the fourth, that's when your team really needs you, especially if you're a superstar. And I would like to see Luka sort of be bait and be a decoy and get other guys around him involved early on. I don't want to say take his time, but let the game come to him, let the game evolve, get a read on the game, pick his spots a little better in the first half, and in the second half is when we need him to be Luka Magic, right? In the second half is when, specifically the fourth quarter, right? That's when Luka needs to turn it on. And I had a high school coach too, really smart players know how to save that energy for the fourth. It's not saying you don't play hard for the first three quarters, but we need everyone in that fourth quarter to have gas in the tank. And if you're a starter playing big minutes, you have to find a way to kind of navigate that. And unless you're just in the best physical fitness level of all time, or you're in that top 1%, and you can just go all day, which some people can, but someone like Luka with his build and what he does, that's not him. He needs to find a way to get others going in the first half and pick his spots, and in the second half, more importantly the fourth quarter, is when we need him. And those are the things Luka I want to see next year from Luka. I want to see him in shape, obviously, and I want to see him. Also, he's got to stop complaining to the refs. I get so fucking tired of not just Luka, but everyone is so animated these days when they don't get a call. And as someone who would get a little fiery from time to time playing, I can't ever remember, maybe once or twice, ever being as animated as I see happen 20 times in a game. It's just absurd at this point. I mean, I don't know what it is, like at some point you realize very quickly, for anyone who's played basketball, that complaining and whining and being animated and throwing your hands up and staring down the ref and complaining and all that shit doesn't do anything, right? If anything, what I found works is at a timeout or end of a quarter or something, you just go up to the ref and you say, hey, can I ask you a question real quick, or something like that. And you say, hey, on that play, when you called a foul on me, what did I do wrong? Or what are you seeing, right? That's how you approach a ref. You do it cordially. You say, hey, when you called a foul on my teammate down there towards the end, that last couple plays, what did he do? Because just from my angle, what I saw was this. Like, what did he do to cause the foul? And no matter what answer they give you, go, okay, I understand, I got it. And that's how, if you really want to try and work the refs, that's how you do it. And not only that, but that's now information you take back to your team and you say, hey, I asked the ref, he said this is why he called you for that foul, so we got to look out for that. Another great quote a high school coach told me is like, you got to find out when to put on the armor if they're letting you play rough and letting you play it out, or you got to find a time to put on the silk robe and you got to be finesse and they're not letting you play tough and you got to watch what you're doing, and maybe sometimes it's a little bit of both, right? And Luka needs to take that next step in terms of the refs and him complaining and finding out what you can and can't do and the style. That's what I mean. Talk about letting the game come to him in the first half. He needs to figure it out. Second half, he needs to show up big time, right? So those are the things I want to see from Luka next year. I'm thinking Kyrie probably comes back. I really don't want to give him a max, but that, again, guys are getting paid. There's a team or two out there that definitely are willing to give Kyrie the max. So, if we want to, we're going to have to as well, I would suppose. And again, we need a big man real bad. So I was wrong about McGee. I feel like I was right about Jason Kidd. I don't think Kidd's the man. I don't think he's the guy for the job. I hate to say it like this. I feel like I could coach better than Jason Kidd, like no joke. I feel like I've gotten more out of fifth graders than Kidd can figure out how to put NBA talent around on a hardwood. I'm obviously being a little facetious and tongue in cheek, but I just am so baffled by his coaching calls, the plays he runs, the sets he calls. Remember the Milwaukee game? Drew Holiday, Luka was mad because he felt like the defense knew what they were going to do. Well, it ain't hard to figure it out. It ain't hard to figure out what Jason Kidd wants to do and what he runs. He runs the same damn sideline inbounds play every time. They run the same damn pick and roll every single time. And over a game, NBA players and athletes are going to cue in on that. And if you don't have other ripples and wrinkles to throw at them, you're dead in the water. I mean, you just can't, you're not that good where you can just straight up run the same play every single time and expect the defense not to adjust and, make it harder and harder and harder as the game and the season go on. And I don't see any kid adapting. I don't see any creativity is the best word to use, because at this point, anything he does outside of the norm would be creative for him. I'm just not impressed with kids so far. And, again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he makes me eat my words. I hope we start watching games next year and I see some different sets. Luka coming off screens, off the baseline, or down picks, moving him and Kyrie around in ways that are, creative and give them good looks and opportunities. And other guys are playing off of that, better movement off the ball, etc., etc., etc. So that's kind of my recap. I mean, we lost Dinwiddie and Finney, which, two guys I loved. I thought they were just great role players and pieces. Dinwiddie had been balling his ass off. Finney Smith is a hard athlete and defender to replace. The Christian Wood trade is now not looking so good. What I don't get right with Christian Wood, that was the next thing I wanted to talk about. If you're going to make a move for a guy like that, how is he not playing 20, 25 minutes a game, right? That's just what I'm baffled at. I'm not necessarily saying he's good or bad. I'm just saying if we make a move like that for him, the way we used him and how much he played, we just pissed away that trade. I mean, at first I was excited about it. Hey, this guy can maybe get us, 8, 9, 10 rebounds a game, even though he's not the best defender. He can get some boards at least. We were so desperate for boards. I thought Wood could slightly help there. He's a good big man to stretch the floor with Luka if you can use him right. A nice pick and pop big man like that with Luka on the pick and roll, that could work. That could open some things up. That could do some things. Wood's not terrible, in the lane or going to the basket. I think he's a 1 or 2 dribble kind of guy. He's not a Luka where he can take 3, 4, 5, 6 dribbles, but him going in a straight line to the basket or on a pick and roll or something like that, I could see that working with him and Luka, and that's But then it's like he gets here and there's no confidence in him. They don't play him any amount of significant minutes, and I feel like we just pissed that pick away that we traded for him. It just made no sense to me, right? Like even if he's like, it's almost like the front office was like, let's do this, and then Kid was like, nah, what, like there was no communication there between coach and front office. Maybe that's the best way to put it. Like, who made this decision? Who signed off on this? And what happened in between that time and Wood getting here and playing that like changed all of a sudden, right? Where was this change of heart? What happened? I just kind of baffles me on that. We might as well have saved that pick, and I think we gave up 2 picks or something like that. We might as well save that for something else, someone that you'll at least use or play, right? So that also kind of sucked. I was very excited for Wood at first, and then, I still think Wood could be a decent piece, like with Luka, right? Luka and what he does, and Kyrie, I still think Wood can contribute and be okay, like be a good, solid role player. His defense is lacking. I think he's a little underappreciated on the rebounding aspect. If he plays 20, 25 minutes, he'll get you double-digit boards, which is something we're lacking, right? So even if he gives up 10 points, he'll score 15 or 20. He can score in bunches, right? Very versatile, can do a lot of things on the offensive end. And so that one just baffled me. We'll see what happens with him. I just have a feeling he's not coming back, especially if we sign Kyrie. So that's kind of it. That's kind of my recap of the season. It was a very disappointing end. Mavs showed such flashes at times and then such baffling moments at times. Honestly, the way that they blew leads this year, that was also a big thing. And that's what I'm talking about. We need Luka in the fourth. Scoring 30 in the first 3 quarters doesn't do too good if you lose by 10. And we don't have any offensive production in the fourth or down the final stretch, last 5 minutes, 4 minutes, 3 minutes, etc. The way that we blew leads this year, that probably should have been the best indicator that the writing was on the wall, that this team was just lacking something, was just lacking some grit, awareness. I feel like this team does not have good awareness in terms of like decision making sometimes in spots. And again, a lot of that is on Kid. I don't think Kid is getting guys in the right spot. I don't think Kid's sending the right message of like, this is what we're looking for. This is the first, second, third option. If the defense does this, here's how we're reacting. Teams were just able to tee up on Luka and double him, and it seemed like Kid really had no answer for that. Again, if you're getting the defense to double your best player as an NBA team, you should be able to execute at a pretty high rate of getting good looks out of that. If you have 4-on-3 in the half court and Luka, they're doubling Luka or what have you, away from the basket, way away from the basket. And I've done some film rooms on this, and you cannot produce some layups, some easy floaters, some nice open mid-range shots or some threes if that's the look you want. Something is wrong on the coaching end, in my opinion, right? The fat guys just were not getting to open spots, turning and attacking and knowing what to do. When your best player's being double-teamed 40 feet away from the basket, I think that's on Kid, big time. And just no adjustments or anything like that. So really, it's going to be crucial what happens with Kyrie. That's going to kind of determine everything. I'm my my gut tells me that Luka and Kyrie are not going to be the fit and have the ceiling that people think of them. I think they can hit that ceiling from time to time, uh, but it is going to be on Kid to get those two. Because again, ball demand stylistically, they're somewhat similar, just different speeds, really, right? In terms of what they can do, they can score at all three levels. One just gets there a little fancier and quicker, and one likes to kind of shift and bump his way into the lane. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what Kid does. It's going to be on Kid this next year. I think in the first 20 to 40 games, a quarter to halfway through the season, I think we'll see what this team is capable of. If Kid can adapt and show me something in that time frame, then I will feel a lot better. But my gut is telling me that Luka and Kyrie together are just not the match that people are going to hope and think they are. And again, I was all for the Kyrie trade, still am. I still think it was the right move. I kind of hated giving up Dinwiddie and Finney. I didn't quite see that much of us giving up with the picks. I didn't quite see that coming. But I'm still for it because we were in such a, no man's land is the worst place to be in, right? Where you're not quite a contender, but you're not quite bad enough to sort of get high draft picks and rebuild, tear it down and rebuild and make some moves with a lot of cap space or something like that. No man's land sometimes is the worst place to be, and I thought the Kyrie trade will at least give us some flexibility no matter which way it goes. So I'm still for it. I was just hoping that stylistically Luka and Kyrie would look better than they did together, paired together. I was hoping maybe they'd open things up for each other a little more. And they had flashes, right? And I'm not saying it can't happen. Obviously it can. They're two of the, Luka's obviously top 5 player no matter how you look at it. Kyrie's top arguably 10, 15, 20, probably closer to top 15 range, if he can stay healthy and stay on the floor. So you would think that they will figure out a way to make it work and that the talent alone will shine through. But my gut is just not quite feeling that confident about it as I was maybe hoping at first after seeing them play together. So we'll see what happens. The draft should be interesting. We got the 10th pick. Again, like I said, with Luka and Kyrie, unless the front office has done their job, they've scouted, and they say, hey, we can get maybe this 1 or 2 or 3 guys at the 10th pick, and we think they can play immediately or play this year and help us out in this area. If anything, I hope we get a big man or some kind of versatile 4. What makes me hesitate with us drafting, we have Jaden Hardy last year essentially playing in the G League the whole year, just destroying the G League. And he doesn't get a call up. He doesn't come up when we sorely needed something else at offense, right, other than Luka. Jaden Hardy was doing good. A point guard, another ball handler. You got to think about it like this. Let's say Hardy comes up earlier before we make the Kyrie trade, and we don't need him to score 20 points a game and 10 assists, right? We just need another ball handler to be smart, make some plays, take some pressure off Luka and Dinwiddie. And if you think about it, if he came in and did that, what other moves maybe had we made, right? Now we know, we might not know. But the fact that Hardy took so long to come up, and I don't think that was on Hardy at all, it makes me worry a little bit with the front office in terms of, even if we draft a guy at the 10th pick, what are they going to do with him, right? I would think that having the 10th pick, there would be so much pressure on them that they would have to play him, have to try and integrate him, have to give him some time and some looks. I would think, but I don't know. I can't get a read on this front office and Jason Kidd sometimes with what they do. That, even if we I'm not sure what they would do with that 10th pick. I guess I'm hoping they play him, that he's on the roster from day one. But you look at Hardy. I mean, I know we drafted Hardy at the end of the first, but Hardy proved himself that he definitely should have got more playing time, and he did there at the end, but kind of, too late. So I'm just not confident that even if we draft someone at 10, that they're going to do anything with it. Or, it might take a year or two, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. I would probably lean towards trading the pick. Of course, it's all dependent on what we can get. I've seen a lot of trade ideas and scenarios. If we can trade the 10th pick and Bertans for any kind of contributions, I'm essentially in for it. I'm all in on it. I'm okay with trading picks right now. You got to realize, about that top 10 area is where I think you can possibly get guys who contribute and can be all-stars, future all-stars. But a little outside of that, I think when you have someone like Luka and like I would say you're essentially in a win now mode, I would say that would be my mindset. I think you trade picks. I just think if you can get known assets and contributors, other players who can make an impact or fill holes you need or do certain things that have proven themselves in the NBA already, I just think that's probably a safer bet than drafting a guy that you hope hits. And after seeing what this front office did with Hardy, I'm just not confident that even if they draft the right guy, we'll see him this year coming up immediately and be getting the playing time they deserve. Maxey getting hurt, definitely hurt. No pun intended, I guess. No, didn't mean to double speak, but him getting hurt. That's a tough injury to come back from if he'll ever be the same, even going forward. I think he's got 2 years left on his deal after the extension, either 2 or 3. I don't know if the extension started this year or this past year or the year coming up. Maxey, the thing about Maxey is his versatile defense as a big man. I guess he's back normal 100%. I guess there's always some kind of hindrance on major injuries like that, but yeah, I mean, I hope he comes back 100%. He's a big key on defense. So is Finney, hurt losing Finney. So those are just kind of my thoughts on the Mavs this past year and going forward. I'm interested to see what we do with that 10th pick and Kyrie. Those are kind of the next few shoes to fall. And let's see what happens. So, tough year, Mavs fans. I understand. So, yeah, that's about all I got to say. I'm trying to think if there's anything else really, but I think I've kind of vented my feelings on it. So, let me know how y'all feel. Any other topics we need to talk about, but I think just a tough year. A lot of rumblings. We're going to lose Luka, when he's a free agent or what have you. I think we have him for the next 3-4 years. So, I mean, that's a long time from now, but I hope it doesn't blow up. I'm pretty sure Cuban will do everything in his power to keep Luka, as he should. But the urgency after Luka just doesn't seem to be there, I guess is my thing. And I don't want that to rub off on Luka like they're not trying. I think the biggest reason they did the Kyrie trade was just to send a message to Luka that we're going to try to roll the dice for you, and we're going to try to make some moves and pull some triggers and hope that, something hits or at least show you that we're trying, right? So I guess that's good in a sort of roundabout way. But, yeah, that's my video on our season this year. I'll probably make another video here on the Mavs. I guess I kind of covered what the next year outlook was for as well. Probably won't know until the draft and if Kyrie resigns. So maybe after those two things, I might come on here and make another video. So just saw Denver. Denver won by 12, I think, tonight, something like that. The spread was 9 points. Miami's a huge underdog, obviously. I think as they should be. I think Denver sweeps or wins at least in 6, if not 5, which isn't a surprise. That's the odds-on favorite, so I'm not saying anything crazy there. But yeah, that's it. We'll retalk the Mavs here in about a month or so, or 2 months, and see where we're at. So